I was reading some information on just statistics to where um, it's kind of been, I won't say necessarily backing the decision that my wife and I made to do this move, this migration outside the states. I don't tend to follow a trend. Again, I'm just all about self-preservation and seeing my options, right? I think the scale, the playing field increased to where I can't just think nationally anymore. I don't know, like I have to figure out something more. Like, I'm like, there's 200 plus countries, almost 300 different territories around the world. The globe is almost indefinite, so I have to see what my options are, right? So I just can't, like necessarily jump on a bandwagon, excuse me, just to say I did it. Like, this is actually my life, and I have to be, prepared for all opportunities on a positive note, and be prepared for negative things that can happen if I'm not willing to pivot. So I say all that to say, like, I look into things, and I'm always interested to see kind of, what people's mindset is on a more national level, right? National scale. And I'm noticing and I'm seeing that there's a lot of people in our very, very short travels, right? This has been, we're in our 8th month. It hasn't been that long at all. But there's a lot of Americans looking, like relocating, not looking to like relocated, earlier than we have, right? Relocated earlier in 2025, 2024, and years ago, even post-COVID, right? But more so recently, there's a lot of people that we ran into that we actually had conversations on that moved, abroad, that moved outside the U.S. within the last 6 to 12 months, right? So it's interesting that as we get deeper into 2026, not only are we seeing more of this obviously on social media, but we're seeing this in real life, real time. We're meeting people, we're rubbing shoulders with people, who came from Florida, who came from North Carolina, who came from Texas, who came from California. California's a big one. A lot of those parts of the U.S. and are making, their transition to a new life outside of the States. Whether they're retired, it's mostly retired, military people, military disabled, veterans, or people who still, are flowing a W-2, income, right? Like people who still have a family, who's still trying to build. People are doing this migration as well in tandem to our timeline. And so I looked up an interesting statistic that within the last 90 years, right? So you're talking about mid to late 1930s, man. Like within the last 90 years, there hasn't been such a negative net of migration since the 1930s, to where more people are leaving than coming in the States. So you can say Trump, yes, he's institutionalized certain things to happen to keep people from coming in, or scare people from coming in. But honestly, look at what's been happening with the U.S. and how it's affecting directly its people, right? Its citizens. People are leaving and going to Costa Rica. People are leaving, right? They're leaving past Puerto Rico, right? People are going to Mexico. People are going to Europe. So and obviously farther, right? We know people obviously coming out into the Southeast Asia part of the world, the Asia part of the world. People are going, to different parts of Africa, right? In 2025, 150,000 people indefinitely left the States. It's hard to put a direct number on it. or a direct number on that demographic of people migrating for various reasons, because it doesn't indicate whether or not they were coming back to the U.S. Short-term or long-term within the same year. But it could have been well more than 150,000 looking to relocate indefinitely. In 2026, we're going to see that number really increase. And again, by scale, I'm already seeing that number increase just in our day-to-day, movements here, right? Since our departure. And it makes sense, man. Like I had a long conversation with my wife tonight just about the status of America and its economy. That's horrible, man. Like, it's just, people are seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing it turn red. It's not great, and people just want to live. People want to buy a home. People want to work. Like, people don't want to not work. I know people who love to work. Like, people just want to work, make a living, go back to work, do it all again for the next 20, 30, 40 years and retire, healthy, right? Like, it's just the normalcy of what the American dream looked like. Retire potentially debt-free, retire to still make ends meet, live a comfortable life, do certain things you couldn't do while you were in your working age, to where now you have the freedom to do that without breaking the bank or without having to go back to work part-time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just do what we've been taught. This is what we're looking forward to, right? As we get into our 40s, as we get into our 50s, as we're preparing for retirement, then we retire, So we just can't do none of that stuff anymore. Everything about the food industry and the World Health Organization, everything is publicized now on social media and news reports. Is just about how unhealthy, consumption is, right? Mental consumption, and obviously, physical consumption with food. It's just bad. It's just a lot of bad happening to just your average Joes, So people are sick of it. People are tired of it. People are dying when they don't have to die, man. Like, it's extreme. So people are looking for different options, right? So the writing's on the wall. People are not waiting for it to happen. Like, they're just gonna figure it out and try to make it happen. People just want to live, man. And so you guys are gonna start seeing that, increase too. Like, it's crazy. So, a lot of people saying goodbye to the States, or at least, a lot of people are trying to not live in the States full time, right? A lot of people trying to have their money stretch. A lot of people are moving for health reasons, so it's a mixing pot of why people are doing what they're doing, but it's ultimately longevity, guys. Like, we just want longevity, And people are going to forever tell me and other people will denounce your citizenship and stop making U.S. dollars, whether it's, retirement, you're working remotely, or VA disability, stop receiving that, don't tap into your 401k. Like, they're going to say all this crap, right? But remember, nobody's ever asked to be born in the States, for one. And two, you should take advantage of what a country has been given to you, especially if I'm an African American, right? As labeled by the states, right? I should take advantage of everything I'm owed, you know what I'm saying? But I shouldn't be taking advantage of my life and my health. I shouldn't be abused, overly used, and subjected to just the normalcies of desensitization that happens in America every second of the day there, guys. Like, it's crazy. So a lot of people like me and my family have said goodbye. We're breaking ties, we're breaking ties, man, so, and we're trying to see other options where we can have more life with less stress. It's just plain as day. So I won't make this too long, but the proof's in the pudding, man. America is definitely a country of power, definitely a country of influence. There's a lot of people we meet in the few different parts that we've been to in Southeast Asia, a lot of people who want to go to the States, we don't ever deter anybody from going anywhere, including the States. I was born in the States, right? We have certain privileges. Nobody is ignorant to that. So everybody should go, and tour and visit, live in different places, right? But I think it's normal for, people who live in a certain place, to have a curiosity, be kind of, driven to visit and see other places. That's just what people do, right? Get out their house to go check out another house. So, I implore people to visit, see for yourself. You know what I'm saying? The experiences could be different for you. It will be different for you because me and somebody else is not the same. So we never deter people from, going. We hope you like it, right? That's just our French to them. We hope you like, enjoy it. Check out this, check out that. But we're trying to see something new, for our own reasons. So, for me and mine, it's goodbye to the U.S., man. It is, and we're just making preparations to see to it that we sustain ourselves indefinitely outside the States. We have family there, still have friends there, and we're looking to keep in contact. We're looking to, meet face to face again at the most appropriate time. I had a guy who's staying in not too far from us where we're at in Thailand right now. He went back to the States for personal reasons for like a week or so. And he's like, yeah, me and my wife, we're spending $50, $60 on food. And guys, I spend $50, $60 on food for me and my family. It's only him and his wife, at least $50, $60 on food, He's like, prices have gone up since he left. And for him, it's been well under a year. And you're already seeing those changes from being outside the States going back. This is real scale people, real scale examples of what I'm talking about. So, people that I've worked with, people obviously I still keep in contact with over the phone, it's crazy. So writing's on the wall, man. So take advantage of the opportunities you guys have if you're willing to make that move. I hope I can make some motivation, or just spread awareness or something, gotta live if you want to live. If you want to live or driven to live, there's other options in the world. Just see to it that you can get into one of those options for sure.